Hi guys. For those of you who know me, hello. And for those of you who don't, my name's S.L.Ager, and I'm the author of the Cadwaladr Quests, the vocabulary novels, and the workbooks. Just to mention, that's the new workbook behind me with the blue triangle in the corner. But anyway, this isn't about my books. So, what I'm going to talk about today is based on vocabulary learning. And it's something that I used to do with my children and something that I've talked about many, many times. And it's quite funny because it's my fault really for being tardy, but I was meaning to do something in my group around 5 a day because lots of parents ask me about it. And I will post, there'll be a transcript of this call in the thread afterwards, so you can read what I've talked about. But it's quite funny because for years I've sort of coined the phrase 5 a day. It's what I used to do with my kids, but mostly with Jude, my son, who wasn't a reader. And then yesterday I saw another company who obviously have seen my lives have coined my phrase and are now producing vocabulary cards daily on their page called 5 a day. So if you see those posted in my group, they are not my word choices, but as they're doing all the hard work, I'll post them in my group anyway. But just so you know that yeah, it was my phrase. So, and also from time to time, I will come on and explain to you and give you examples of some of those words. But I'm going to explain what I meant by 5 a day and what I did. And also, don't worry if you can't do 5 words a day. 1 word a day is better than nothing. I called it 5 a day because I used to compare it to the fruit and veg that the kids should be eating when all they wanted to do was eat sweets. Anyway, so I've made some notes. If my eyes go up and down, you know why. So as I say, I've been talking about 5 a day for many years, as I did it with Jude. He wasn't a reader, and there was 2 words with Jude that cropped up in the CGP 10 to 11, or certainly 1 word did. 2 words that kind of have very similar meanings, although the definitions are subtly different. But also, one of the words that I'm going to talk about, sanction, means exactly the opposite. So it can mean to ban something as a kind of punishment, but it can also mean to allow. Now, to try and teach kids that 1 word has completely polar opposite meanings, and this is not the only word, there are many in the English language, but I found it very difficult. And also, when I saw the word veto in the CGP 10 to 11 verbal reasoning book, I nearly had a heart attack because, his vocabulary was not that strong then. So that's when I decided to bring this in. And what we did was, and again, I'll post this in the chat. I would choose certain words and I would bring them into our conversations over and over and over in the day ad nauseum. Even my husband became involved. He'd be making dinner and he'd bring in the word. So long as the context that you were using the word in is right and relevant to the kids, then the words stick. And what I would say is don't always go for the most obscure, difficult words either. Go for words that are short, but that you think your child may not know. I mean, I knew as a mother which words my kids knew because I knew which words we used in the house, which words I was reading with them in reading books. So when I saw a new word in a book, CGP for example, I knew that I had to sort of fix that in my child's mind. And the way I chose the words to learn and focus on was I learnt the words that were appearing in the 11 plus books. Now this was quite a while ago and there are many more resources now. So I would say choose carefully, even though I've got my own vocabulary book now. Even choose carefully from that and choose words that you know your son or daughter doesn't know, and go for the less obscure words. Because at the odd time, we have to throw in an obscure word just because there's not enough words around. So go for the less obscure ones or the ones that you see appearing in workbooks more and more. Because there is no definitive 11 plus word list. We're all working from hindsight. We're all working from what has been and not what will be because we don't know. So I'm going to talk about 2 words today, veto and sanction, and they have different meanings, but they're kind of similar in some ways. And this is how I taught Jude, my son, the difference. Also, these words are often used in law and government speech, and you may laugh at this, but because I make the rules in our house, because Tim, my husband, was away in London all day, I thought it'd be a fun way to teach Jude. So veto, VETO, which will be in the thread, can mean a ban or to ban. So it can be a verb and it can be a noun. And sanction is the same. It can also be a sanction or to sanction. I've written loose definitions from the Oxford English Dictionary, which is the one I use and which is the Bible that most English editors use. Oxford English Dictionary, not Collins, not any of the others. It's the Oxford English Dictionary. So sanction can be a threatened penalty for disobeying a rule. That's one of the definitions. But it can also mean the exact opposite. It can mean official permission or approval for an action. So, like I say, quite often used in government speech, but because I make the rules in our house, I thought it'd be a fun way to actually teach these to Jude. So, they're very confusing, and this was the way that I felt by using these words in context in his daily life was the way I felt they would stick. Anyway, so here's a few sentences that I used with Jude. So it would be on a daily basis, or it would be every other day, or I just bring them in. So that he could understand the words. I used to say, if you don't do your homework, I will veto your Xbox. So instead of saying, I'm going to limit your screen time or you're having a screen ban, I used to and it sounds pompous, but it works. If you don't do your homework, I will veto your Xbox. And that's a verb. Another one, there will be sanctions on your screen time if you're rude again. So this time, there will be sanctions. Sanction is a noun. All screen time will be vetoed until your homework is finished. So that's more tricky. Vetoed in that sentence is a past participle, okay? And it's used as a future passive verb construction, but don't worry about that. You don't need to think about that. It's just all screen time will be vetoed until your homework is finished. So it was the reaffirmation of the word veto around him having a screen ban if he didn't work. And yeah, it could be construed as bribery. It's just the way I parent, and you may not want to do it that way. But, and it was tongue in cheek. We used to laugh about it because he knew I was putting this word into, his day. Excuse my dog's barking. And he would roll his eyes. But it worked. So here's another one. I will veto all screen time until your homework is finished. So that's another verb. Please tidy up your rooms now, lest I veto your screen times for the day. Another verb usage. Now, here's a noun for the word sanction. Sanctions to your screen time will be imposed if you continuously argue with your sister. So that's a noun. Sanction is a noun there. Here's another past participle. Your sweet allowance will be sanctioned if you continue to leave clothes scattered around your bedroom floor. Please put them in the wash basket. Okay, so and that one was past participle. Here's another. If you behave well, all Xbox sanctions will be lifted. So there we're looking at the word sanction, and it's a noun. Now here's a funny one because we're going to flip sanction on its head and use it in the way that the ban is to be lifted. So you're actually allowing something to happen. This is the polar opposite. You've been so well behaved today. You've done all your chores with alacrity. Xbox sanctions are lifted. Okay, so that's the first meaning. We're lifting the ban, and then flip it on its head. So I now sanction, verb, your screen time once more. So you're saying you're lifting a sanction and you're now sanctioning something. So really, really tricky. But eventually my son came to understand that. And so those are my examples, and then I pulled some examples off the internet. So the next few examples are just to explain a little further and to give you some more examples, but they're not mine. So so here we go. The conference gave its official sanction to change the policy. We received sanction to proceed with our plans. He may now be ready to sanction the use of force. The book was translated without the sanction of the author. Prison is the best sanction against a crime like this. The fear of ridicule is a very effective sanction. We now have an effective sanction against the killing of whales. They won't sanction our spending on this scale. So that's all examples of sanction off the internet. And here's some examples now using the word veto, which again I pulled off the internet. Okay, so mother put a veto on our staying out late. Mother put a veto on my screen time. Yep, that was on the internet, wasn't mine, honestly. The chairman has the power of veto on all decisions. And finally, the White House says the president would veto the bill. So that is how I taught my son veto and sanction as verbs and nouns, and sanction as almost to allow and to ban. And that was my 5 a day. But what I always advocate, as I said earlier, is 1 a day or 2 a day, but bringing it over and over. And make a list of words that you've done, put them in a spreadsheet, write them on a piece of paper. And what I used to do is I would write maybe 3 words down. And I knew the synonyms and antonyms myself because I'd kind of worked on them. But if I walked the dog and Jude came with me, I would make sure that I was using sentences and creating sentences, even if they were silly, so long as they were in context, using those words. So I hope you find this useful. If you do, maybe put a little note in the thread and I can hop on every few days and do a few more of these. And I will continue to post the 5 a day by Exam Whiz, I think they're called, because they're doing a lot of hard work for me. But I want to say that they are not my chosen words. I'm not advocating that you learn those words, even though I'm posting them in my group. They're just exposure to more words. It's like I say to everybody, all the words in my novels are not a to learn list. They're just exposure to more and more vocabulary, which might help you in tests, but also in comprehension. So I hope that helps. So veto and sanction were a couple of my 5 a day today. And yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Anyway, bye for now. Bye. Bye.